Welcome to the Law Firm Practice Management Advice Podcast.
The fundamentals of business.
Join Kirk Stange of Stange Law Firm as he discusses helpful strategies, tools, and insights to grow and manage a legal practice.
Good ideas are simple.
From improving client relationships to managing your team and scaling your practice, this podcast offers practical advice for navigating the challenges of law firm management.
Shall we proceed?
Now, here's your host, Kirk Stange.
Welcome to Law Firm Practice Management Advice. We have an interesting topic today. The topic is how negative framing costs you clients at the first meeting. And this episode today is based on an article on my blog, lawfirmpracticemanagementadvice.com, dated April 17th, 2026. And the title of that article is Why Naysayers Lose Clients in Initial Consultations. So as a follow-up to the episode today, go on over to my blog and read this article for more information. All right, but let's go ahead and jump on in. The reality is law firms and lawyers almost always need new clients. New clients pay the bills. New clients keep the lights on. New clients ensure that the law firm can thrive and that the law firm can prosper. But what lots of law firms and lawyers experience, unfortunately, is potential clients will come into their law office. A lawyer will meet with the potential client, and then what ends up happening is the potential client departs and doesn't hire the law firm or the lawyer. Oftentimes they'll say they're going to go home, they're going to think about it, and maybe they'll come back, and then they never do. And the reality is there's a common mistake that lots of attorneys and law firms can make, which causes this. I think a lot of lawyers don't see it. They don't recognize it, and they don't have a lot of insight into it. And so this process can really repeat itself over and over and over again, where lawyers and law firms are meeting potential clients, but they're not getting the new clients. Instead, they're meeting them, but the individuals are departing and they're hiring another lawyer and law firm instead. All right, there's a common mistake that causes this that lawyers and law firms would be wise to recognize and to think about. And this is the concept of becoming a naysayer. Okay, some lawyers and law firms will be overly pessimistic with potential clients, and they will think that they're being honest, they're being realistic, and they're being cautious in their communication with the potential client, and they might argue this is a good thing. You know, they're telling the potential clients how it is and what's going to happen and what's going to take place, because they don't want to set unrealistic expectations for the potential client. In some respects, this obviously makes sense, and lawyers don't want to set unrealistic expectations with potential clients. But what a lawyer has to watch is this: if they're becoming discouraging, overly critical, or at times they may come off like they're actually lecturing or reprimanding the potential client. If a lawyer does that, they're not going to get a lot of potential clients to hire them. This is not what most individuals are looking for when they're meeting a lawyer for a legal consultation. All right, when individuals go in to meet a lawyer for a consultation, it's typically an unhappy experience, right? They probably didn't want this. They're not thrilled that they have to meet a lawyer, and they're uncomfortable in the first place, all right? But what most potential clients are looking for is not discouragement. What they're looking for is some level of optimism, some level of problem solving, and really a path to get them out of the situation that they're presently in, all right? So take a child custody case. In the context of family law, all right? Maybe they have specific goals. They have specific aspirations for how they would like to see their case resolve themselves. What a lawyer is wise to do is just hear that, absorb that. Obviously, don't overpromise the potential clients that you're going to be able to deliver that. Don't paint the scenario in a way that leads them to believe that if they hire you, this is definitely going to be something that's going to happen. At the same time, what you don't want to do in a potential client consultation, and we're talking a first meeting, right? This is the first time you meet somebody. You're not going to change their worldview in an hour if it's an hour consultation, right? What they came in wanting, they want. And in the first hour, it's really unlikely as a lawyer that you're going to change their mind. So if you attempt to do this You're going to be arguing with them. You're going to be debating with them. Again, they're going to take it like you're lecturing or reprimanding them. And that's what the potential clients are just going to depart, leave, and they're going to hire another attorney. At the same time, again, you're not overpromising them. You're just hearing. You're absorbing what they have to say. You're taking notes for what they want, but you're not going to push back hard on them and try to change their mind in a 1-hour consultation. A good metaphor, which I think is important, it's something to think about, is in the context of politics. Okay? Can an attorney turn a lifelong Democrat into a Republican or a Republican into a Democrat in an hour? No. I mean, from my vantage point, that's a completely unrealistic expectation. You're not going to change somebody's political views in an hour, no matter how logical or well-reasoned your arguments may be. When a potential client comes in some kind of litigation and they're meeting a lawyer and they have concrete goals and aspirations for the outcome of the case, you're not going to change their mind in an hour. That's not going to happen. People are not going to abandon deeply held beliefs or goals in a short meeting. So when an attorney tries to force that shift too quickly, it often creates resistance instead of trust. And so the potential client then ends up feeling unheard, dismissed, or even misunderstood, which makes it far less likely that the potential client is going to hire that attorney. So again, remember, naysaying feels like judgment to a potential client. And particularly this is true if it's sort of an overly critical tone or negative tone that can come across as judgmental to the potential client. Lawyers sometimes may feel like they're just explaining the law to the potential client or what they've seen throughout their career, but the delivery matters just as much as the content. So lawyers have to be really conscious of their tone. A curious tone, a concerned tone is okay. A judgmental tone, a reprimanding tone, that's not going to come across very well when you're meeting a potential client for the first time. Know that potential clients can really only absorb so much. And so if you're trying to throw a bunch of law and legalities at them at the first meeting, this is sort of overwhelmed for a lot of them. A lot of them are just trying to meet an attorney that they feel like is caring, is empathetic, and is going to ultimately advocate for them. And if they find that, that's typically the attorney for them. But if they feel like they're being talked down to or being corrected or reprimanded, that almost always never leads to the potential client hiring the lawyer or law firm. Instead, what lawyers and law firm need to attempt to do is build trust, and they need to build rapport. And without that foundation, the reality is the potential client is not likely to hire the law firm. And ultimately, if you need to seek sort of a change in the client's position, if you will, like if you think the client's position along the way, if they end up hiring you, is not likely to occur, the only way you're going to be able to deliver that message to the client later down the road where they're going to be able to absorb it and maybe accept it or at least consider it is if they trust you and there's a rapport with them. But at the first meeting, if you're sort of beating down on them about their position, they're not going to absorb it. They're not going to accept it. They probably won't even consider it. They're just going to find a different lawyer who they have a better bond and rapport with. Okay, so think about this. What do potential clients actually want when they're meeting a lawyer? Okay, most are not expecting guarantees or unrealistic promises. Okay, so a lot of lawyers hear this and they think, I've got to overpromise them. No, that's not what you need to do. If you overpromise and you underdeliver, then the potential client's going to be upset down the line. But what most potential clients want is to feel heard, to feel understood, and they want to know that their concerns matter and that their goals are going to be taken seriously by you if you end up being their attorney. All right? They want to believe that the attorney they hire is going to stand up for them, is going to communicate effectively on their behalf, and that they're at least going to try to pursue the best possible outcome for them. Okay, so one of the ways I've always tried to explain it as this, is they want a lawyer who at least is going to try. They don't want you to overpromise them and guarantee an outcome. They just want you to try. And so you've got to communicate that you will at least do that. You'll advocate, you'll try, you'll do the best you can within the bounds of the law, even if the path forward is going to be challenging or difficult. All right? If they don't feel that sense of advocacy or commitment from the lawyer they're meeting at a consultation, they're going to leave, and they're going to continue to look for a lawyer who will at least do that, all right? So the better approach is really balance, not blowback, all right? So again, this doesn't mean you're going to tell the potential clients whatever they want to hear in order to get the case. That's going to create problems down the road when you're over-promising and under-delivering. At the same time, you can strike a balance. And the balance in a consultation, again, involves validating their concerns, validating their perspective, and ensuring that they feel like they were understood. From there, it's okay to give the strengths and the potential challenges. In other words, the pros and the cons of the potential client's case with them, but you've got to try to give them a path forward. And the path forward has to show a sense of direction, and that you would have a strategy to at least try to pursue their interest as effectively as possible. All right? So when an attorney does that, they maintain honesty while demonstrating advocacy, but they're not being discouraging and lecturing and reprimanding. And so by doing this, they build trust and they build confidence. And this is ultimately critical to getting potential clients to hire a lawyer or law firm. All right? Keep this in mind as well. If you won't advocate for them, someone else will. That's the reality. So if potential clients feel like after they've met you that you're not even going to try, you're not going to advocate for them, no, there's another lawyer who at least is going to do that. They will at least put the client's best foot forward, and they'll attempt to get them where they want to be. And so if the answer feels like no to the potential client, no, you're not even going to try, they're going to move on without much hesitation. And one of the things I've seen throughout my career is that what a lot of potential clients then tell the lawyers that they don't have the money, and that's why they're not hiring the lawyer. But oftentimes that's really just an excuse. They had the money, they just didn't feel like the lawyer was even going to try. And this was an easy way to let the lawyer down. And then they're going to go and find somebody who's at least going to try to advocate for them. All right? So some final thoughts. Initial consultations are not about shutting down potential clients or immediately correcting every perceived misunderstanding that they may have. All right? This is an opportunity instead to connect with the potential client, understand their goals, and demonstrate you will at least try to stand up for them during this difficult time. All right? Attorneys who focus too heavily on what cannot be done and who lose sight of what the client actually needs at the moment are going to lose a lot of potential clients, all right? Even if the lawyer's legal analysis ends up turning out to be correct, the overall experience for the potential client is going to feel like discouragement, and they're going to feel like they're not supported. And for that reason alone, most potential clients are going to depart, and they're going to find another lawyer who's at least going to try, all right? You can even be right on the law if you think the potential client's case is bad, but you still lose a client because you come across as a naysayer to them, all right? So keep in mind, in today's environment, there's lots of lawyers out there. Potential clients have lots of options, and they have expectations. And most lawyers and law firms cannot afford to keep naysaying potential clients and then losing them, right? Most lawyers and law firms need new clients, so at least communicate that you've heard them, you understand where they're coming from, and that you're at least going to try and advocate. And sure, give them the pros and give them the cons of their case, but try to, at the end of the day, present a path forward, and understand you're not going to totally change somebody's mind in an hour consultation. If you go there, you're going to lose a lot of potential clients to other lawyers and law firms. All right, so that's the topic today. Again, as a follow-up to the episode today, go on over to Law Firm Practice Management Advice.com. Read the article dated April 17th, 2026, titled Why Naysayers Lose Clients in Initial Consultations. Well, thanks for tuning in to lawfirmpracticemanagementadvice.com today on our podcast, and stay tuned for our next episode coming up.
Thank you for listening to the Law Firm Practice Management Advice Podcast with Kirk Stange. Kirk Stange is the president and founding partner of Stange Law Firm, a multi-state divorce and family law practice. For more insight on similar law firm management topics, visit his practice management advice blog at lawfirmpracticemanagementadvice.com.